I know that I've been personalizing these talks more and more over the last several months and perhaps pretty much over the last several weeks. They're more, in a sense, the energy and practice rather than just theological, philosophical, spiritual discourse. So more of that this week. And those of you who wish to sign out on all this, that's fine. I don't know why I'm led to share this journey with you, but it really does seem the one thing I have to share. I discussed last week the pain of crawling out from underneath the shell. The crab leaving its shell and entering the world totally vulnerable. Excuse me. Well, that's not going to be a one-time event. And this week has been a very, very big exploration of the world with no shell, no protection at all. And it's very painful. And it's very scary. And it's an extraordinary opportunity to learn. It has proven to be that. To take those of you who are not on board a little bit backwards, we are selling our house in Los Angeles, where we have lived for 35 years, and are moving to a home I barely know. It seems like a good home in upstate New York, very near my grandchildren. Leaving the LA foundational space of my life, the place that I've lived longest and have had most of my human adult experience in, is very hard. This afternoon, it is being shown to the first buyers in about 2 hours. I have begged every way I can to not let it go. I've begged my wife. I've thought about calling the realtor and saying, we're not going to do this. I'm reminded of how much money we will lose if we back out. I'm trying to figure out where everything is going to go in the new house and how much we have to let go of. That's been part of our journey. This may be not new to any of you, especially who were here last week. But the immediacy of it is so strong. And leaving behind what was for the unknown, although of course it's a complete absurdity, the moving forward on any level is the unknown. But leaving the familiar and bargaining with God, take this from my lips, don't make me go through this. Feeling is very strong. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would wake up in the morning feeling this is wrong. Don't do this. Don't make this move. You don't have to do this. Stay with that which is known. And then I would find a million reasons why it's not the right thing to do. It's not the right place to be. I mean, anyone who knows Los Angeles knows on some level it's not the right place to be. On the other hand, it is what has nurtured me for so long. I have backed away from every opportunity to abort the move. I would say to Blanche on Friday morning, this is our last moment. Then I said it again yesterday. This is our last chance to do this. And she said, I'm not staying in LA. So, okay, I don't have a real choice here, although I do, but it's a big one. to stay somewhere where my wife doesn't want to stay. But what I keep coming to, literally over and over and over again, surrender doubt, surrender fear, and arrive at trust over and over and over and over again. And it really brings up the question, who is doubting, who is fearing, and from whence cometh trust? It's not like I don't know these answers. They have always been there. And they have played a role in my entire life. And I have many times jumped off the cliff and been caught. I've delineated a lot of those moments for all of you, and I don't need to go through them again. But my life, even the life in Los Angeles, was based on letting go of a familiar space and moving into something that was completely unknowable. And in each case, caught. You would think after being caught so many times you would trust jumping off the cliff. But I will tell you, every time you jump off the cliff, the fear arises. The thing that keeps coming back to me, which is so powerful, is the voice that says, trust the journey, is bigger than it's ever been. Not louder, but bigger. The cocoon that I inhabit, the thing that holds me in place, is expanded in such a huge way, but it is still holding me. And I feel it is about to erupt and let me free. It can either do that, or it can squeeze down and hold me back in where I'm comfortable. But comfort, it basically tells me, is not the answer. It's never been about comfort. It's never been about living in a safe space, because there is no such thing. Comfort is not a place. It's not a person. It's not a situation. Comfort is trust and opening and watching it unfold. This last few days has been very interesting to me. I have so much on my plate, and I've described it to you. You know, Blanche and I are doing this gallery show. God knows why we're doing a gallery show at this moment in time. But, you know, we had to drive to LA last week and get her paintings and her pottery that were still there to bring here for the show. I've had to select the paintings that are going to be in the photographs that are going to be in the show. And I set aside time for that. I think I have described to you as well that I have the possibility of writing this movie for Warner Brothers, which is a remake of an old film that I did many years ago called Brainstorm. And should I be putting this out in the public sphere? I have no idea. But I met with the president of Warner Brothers, who is someone I've known, and he's open to this idea of what I want to do, but wants a treatment from me. And I only have 3 days. I had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in terms of all the demand, to write this treatment. Every day is so full for me. The idea of trying to accomplish something like that in 3 days seemed, to the mind anyway, more than it could do. But I have had to figure out in the last months how to just say, okay, here I am. Thursday, I wrote the first part of the treatment. Friday the second part. And Saturday, Blanche said, would you come with me to a pottery studio to buy some stuff in the morning? And I thought, should I be writing or should I go with Blanche? And I thought, I should be with my wife. We get in the car to drive to this pottery studio over the Richmond Bridge, and as we're driving on the other side, it is impacted with traffic. So what was going to be a short journey into Richmond is now erupting into a very, very long return, for which I have no time. In the pottery space, I am fascinated by the tiles on the floor. There are all these objects that are new to me, and my photographer person inside grabs the camera, and I am shooting the floor, I'm shooting all of these objects. People don't know what I'm doing there because it looks very odd, but I'm rewarded with a richness of imagery coming out of the most stupid objects you can imagine, and they're really, I can feel they're beautiful, loaded with color and form and meaning. And Blanche buys what she wants to buy, and we get in the car, and I'm so annoyed that we're going to have this extra hour of time to have to drive all the way back, and I have need of this time. And so I decide at that moment, because it's my sister's birthday, I'll call my sister and hope that she's home. Well, we have the most beautiful talk on the ride home. So beautiful. And I wouldn't have had that time. I would have had to take it away from other things, but here I'm in traffic. The traffic says, here, use this. The conversation occurs. We go to Whole Foods to buy food for our gathering today. I just loved being in Whole Foods. I just loved the bounty of material, of everything that was around me. I just thought this is really, it was so wonderful. And we got everything we needed. We restocked the house. I felt the beauty of having what you need. And then we got home and unloaded the car, and I sat down and made a lunch out of the stuff I had just bought. And now the day was more than half over, and I'm going, where am I going to have time? But I went upstairs to sit down in my chair to start writing, and the entire treatment delivered itself, as it had Thursday and Friday. It delivered itself, and it was as close to what I would want it to be as I could have imagined. And my feeling was, if they never make this movie, which is very possible, if it never goes past Toby's eyes, the head of Warner Brothers, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Something got written that spoke to me so deeply about my present tense moment. And one of the fascinating things about this thing I'm writing is it's about where I am in life at this very second. And it's being put on a piece of, I would say paper, but mostly it's on a computer screen. But the synchronicity of writing my heart out for a movie that may never get made, and having it arrive with such fluidity that, if nothing else, the document that was created was something that had to happen, and it was allowed to happen with such ease and no effort. And the words that kept coming up to me at the end of the day was, see, trust, don't doubt, just show up, do the work, trust the journey. Doubt would have given me nothing but struggle and discomfort. Showing up, allowing, being available. I had 4 hours to do it, and in 4 hours it was done. And I had very little to do with it. As in the moments that are the best writing experiences I ever have, I am the dictation. I take the dictation. It is delivered. And it was delivered. Was it delivered to lift my life up and change things? Was it delivered just so I could be a recipient? I have no idea what awaits. My Hollywood experience, as I've described to many people, has been about one essential thing. It's called Destroy the Ego. Every movie I've ever written has been altered, changed, or manipulated in some way, except for one script, which really, I mean, Ghost was not harmed in the end. But everything else was moved around in certain ways that I lost a voice or I lost something. And I found myself learning in Hollywood how to let go and let go. And nothing came out badly. Nothing came out badly. It just was a way of ripping me to shreds. And I've never found in that process that I've lost anything. This last little thing that I wrote yesterday, finished yesterday, may have any number of possible outcomes. One of them is that it could turn into something really wonderful. The other is it could turn into something wonderful that's taken away from me. Another is that it can never get made, or that it could become made really badly. And I would bear all the credit and blame. There's a lot of outcomes. Here's the difference between today and all those years. I don't care. I don't care. The experience of receiving this gift of an idea and actually getting it to play out on the computer screen and to see it as a whole, for better or for worse, it was delivered in such a way with ribbons and bells and incense burning, and it was just handed over, and they said, here. I did my work. I took the dictation. That, in a way, is what we're here to learn. How to make the time available to serve the universe. How to make yourself available to this process. How to tune into it in a way that lets you know you can move forward even when you don't have a clue to what you're doing. How to give yourself over to something greater and know that you can trust that. And know even when it appears to abandon you, which it will do regularly, that your muscle of trust, your muscle of acceptance, your muscle of releasing doubt is growing. But the only way you can have a muscle that releases doubt is to have the doubt to release. And the doubt comes in. And we are all given that. And I quote endlessly the biblical reference to Christ in Gethsemane. You know, this is a guy who had every reason not to doubt, but he was doubting. And again, he doubted on the cross. I talk about that all the time. Why have you forsaken me? If it can operate at that level, why can't it operate at the level I'm operating at? I learn as I go. We all learn as we go. We're all tested, in a sense, as we go. The big lesson appears to be trust. Trust. It doesn't all make a lot of sense. It doesn't all add up in a kind of linear equation that says, oh, this is the Einsteinian truth. It doesn't have that. It has the moment-to-moment assurance that you can get to the next step. And I have to reference that as a very important ingredient. The only safe haven I have, or you have, is right now. Somehow you're here, you're breathing, you're alive, sun is shining today. If it's not, you're probably dry somewhere. In the moment, which means not 2 seconds ahead, not thinking about the fact that your house is going to be sold in 2 hours, not thinking that your shell is going to be taken away for however long. Not thinking about what could happen, should happen. Is my wife right or am I right? Where does this all supposed to go? Take all of that stuff in this moment and enjoy a scoop of ice cream. Enjoy sitting with people you love. Enjoy going for a walk. You know, there's so many things you can do in the moment to just be present and not have to embrace the unbelievable unknown of life. Right now, in the simplicity of your own heart, there is such comfort and embrace. And if you get there and there is no comfort and embrace, and I've had a number of those moments this week where I have sat down and there's nothing there at all. Here's what I discover. Sit in that nothingness and just be or dig. Dig a little bit. Just dig below the surface and you will be shocked at what you find. Something is there. Something is there inside you, and I can only describe it as embrace, as refuge, as comfort. Underneath the brittle surface and the density and the darkness of your own aloneness, there is this pool of refreshment, calm, still love. People who have not found that suffer dramatically. People who have found it have to be reminded. Something in you needs to remind you that that's there. When everything is taken away, and I've had about 4 of those moments this week where it was like end of the road moment. I just had to sit there and go. In every case, this incremental, subtle voice or feeling emerges, and it just says, you're okay. You're okay. And that really is, I was singing, there really is, for all of us, a connection to an embrace that ultimately is infinite in its scope. Trust me on that. Trust me. If I'm wrong, you can yell at me later. But I don't think I am wrong. I think you will find it if you make the effort. If you work inside what Rudy called do the work, you will find that you can transcend your fear, you can transcend your doubt, you can transcend a lack of certainty, you can transcend fear. You just go to a place that has to arise out of the moment. It's in the moment. It doesn't project itself to the next moment. It's just in the next moment. So once you get past this moment, you may have to find it again and again and again. But if you let yourself go off into the realms of doubt and fear and all of that stuff, which, trust me, anybody can do, including great spiritual teachers like Christ. If you go off into those realms, you will be led back into letting go of doubt, letting go of fear, and finding that trust is the underlying truth. And much of it feels like comfort and love. A kind of strange certainty that tells you if you sit down Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and make yourself right, I will deliver what you need. And that's what it did. With no expectation of where my movie goes, with no expectation of what happens when the house sells, with no expectation of how we're ever going to gather all of this stuff and transport it across the country, with no understanding of anything, whether anyone will go to the gallery show. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Do the work. Do the thing in front of you. Show up. Be available. Say thank you on occasion. Be loving and trust the journey. Any questions? So, I hope the deeper part of this gets through. I'm not trying to talk about my moving. And I'm not talking about the movie, which one may never see. I'm not talking about anything other than living a spiritual life, or a life driven by a desire to see a larger context for what appears to be the small and overwhelming reality of our day-to-day life. It is not limited to the smallness of our life. We are part of something so vast, so vast. And not only are we part of it, I don't know what it means to say this, we are it. We are it. There is no other. There is nothing else. And if you think you can get what it is, good luck. Tim.
Thanks so much about sharing your experience here. For me, when the fear or uncertainty thing and wanting certainty comes up and it grabs me, I want to push away the fear, but the fear is the very thing in the present moment you're suggesting to totally be fully present with, maybe, and maybe underneath that it will, even the desire to want it to go away, somehow it transmutes, I suppose, by being with it.
I don't know the techniques involved because they don't always work for me. The technique of accept pain. If there's a blowtorch on your foot, telling someone to accept it doesn't really work. You will find that that's a stupid thing to say to somebody. Because your body isn't going to sit there and accept the pain. It's going to writhe and go through all of this stuff and probably say, why have you forsaken me? Why am I in this pain? I don't get it. What's going on here? It's a real drama that goes on. And then something happens. And I've done this talk thousands of times. Christ on the cross does this exquisite thing. He says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Where is he in the equation? How did he suddenly switch to them? That's the spiritual journey. How do you arrive at that? I can't tell you, but there is something I have discovered in my pain, is that in fighting it, I don't get a lot. Sometimes I can't help it. It's just part of what's happening. But then I kind of go, you're human. Fight it. You fight. I get it. Accept the reality of what's happening. And the accepting of the reality, meaning I hate this pain, and I accept that I hate this pain, suddenly it's not there's a cause and effect, but something else happens. Or it doesn't. But there's this extraordinary thing about what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be on this journey? And what it means is everything we're going through. Love, joy, trust, lack of trust, doubt, release of doubt. That's all part of the same thing. But if you have it in your consciousness that this is all going on, and you get these moments of reflection where you see, wow, they did it. They planned the day beautifully. Yesterday worked out 100%. It wasn't set out that way. It could have been anything, but I just saw it going, wow. I knew it when I called my sister and she was home on her birthday. I said, because I called her in the morning and I got an answering machine, and I thought, well, if I'm sitting in traffic for an hour, I can call. The delivery of that was like, this is wonderful. I would not have had this. I would have had to take this away from my writing. Now I'm taking it away from a traffic jam. And you just go, okay, that's really interesting. Thank you. It all kind of finds an alignment that most of us never see. But if you see it, something in you goes, wow, thank you. You start to get how this works. in a way. It's not out to get you, even though you may feel it's out to get you. It's not out to get you. And I have to go through that over and over, because when they're taking my house away and the beauty of this place that Blanche designed and created and has enveloped me for 35 years with such comfort, and they're saying, crawl out from underneath that and be naked in the world. I hate that. I hate it. On the other hand, I'm having to do it, and I am learning in the process, and what I'm learning may be more important than owning that house. We'll see. Lots of steps ahead.
Yeah, that tendency to want to hold on to what is familiar, my God.
It's really powerful. And I will tell you one thing, which is not going to be news to you. You can't do it. And in the end, you will be taken to a realm where, in a way, it appears nothing is familiar, but shockingly, it's more familiar than anything you've ever expected. You know, having no familiarity, having nothing is like, oh, that's who I am. Okay? Yeah. You know, I don't really know. I'm doing the best I can, and I really give permission to everybody who listens to this tape, if it's no longer speaking to you, find somebody who speaks to you. It's fine with me. Thank you all. Love you. Oops, question.
Well, it's nothing very trivial. Could you tell the viewers when your art show is and where?
It's at a place called The Laundry in San Francisco's Mission District. It is opening on May 11th, and it will be there. Huh? No, May 11th through the end of June.
And the opening is?
May 11th. And I will let people know that more. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I started taking photographs less than 2 years ago, and it's amazing that there's a gallery that wants to show them. And the fact that this woman who runs a gallery understands that Blanche and I are kind of like non-artists. Blanche has been doing pottery and painting. I met her as a painter when I was 52 years ago. And that's I met Blanche through her painting. I walked into her studio and I went, oh, this is who I'm going home with. And it was really phenomenal thing. I just saw the paintings and I got her. And that's how I fell in love, really. She didn't talk the person she painted. It was so exquisite. And the woman who's doing this show sees this idea of two non-artists as a couple making work their whole life in a way, and she wants to show it as that. As what does that mean? People who just make art. And I'm finding that really kind of compelling. And we're not. Some of it will be for sale, but we're not going to make money. It's just an interesting way to put something up there that is. The great thing about the photographs, I think, which have become a complete discovery for me, is the discovery of hidden beauty over and over and over and over. And the works are beautiful. Blanche's pottery, Blanche's paintings are beautiful. It's just beauty. They'll be on the walls. People can look at them and go, oh, and then you go home, just like you do in a museum, if you're lucky, and you're refreshed. You're touched by one of the key core elements of the human experience, which I call love, truth, and beauty. That's what we're here for. So you're all welcome to come. I'll make more announcement as it approaches. Thank you. Bye, guys.